Hello, 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 everyone. Happy election day. Happy Tuesday. Taco Tuesday, to be exact. How is everyone doing? Good morning, John. Good morning, one-handed Sterling. Left hand got crunched in jiu-jitsu. Sorry to hear that, Sterling. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Odie Green. Good morning, Jacob. Then you got wrapped up on a call. All that on a Tuesday morning? Oh, boy. Now the markets are crashing. Oh, well, we're down. NASDAQ's down 1.56%. In this day and age, that would be called a crash. I mean, boy, what are we going to do? Hello, Charles. Good morning, Tony. Yeah, what's this red on the screen? What does that mean? Markets always go up. Good morning, Anissa. We're finally getting a pullback. Oh, finally. All right. So, I don't know if you're free, Sterling. If you have any time, if you could put in a couple of the earnings. If not, it's not a problem. We had Red Book come out. We can remember government shutdown. Let's see if they'll resolve it this week. Who knows? President Trump saying get rid of the filibuster. I think that would be a disaster long term. But that's where we sit with that one, 5.7% for Red Book. And that's really about it. Besides what comes out in the press cycle and the morning press conference. So that's what we're really red today. There you go. Mag 7's all red. Chips are red. Boy, it's a risk off kind of day. Consumer defensive, rotation into consumer defensive this morning. Oh, look, consumer defensive is the only sector that's up, which that's typical of a risk off day. Hate that term, but that's the one that's used. Everything else is negative. Fed watch still now is a 71% for December rate cut, fear and greed. Are we going to get into extreme fear off this little sell off? Wouldn't that be funny? I mean, look at this stock price strength. Compare this to April or even the sell off going into January. And look where we are now. That's extreme fear. They've got to be doing something with rate of change, but that's not even a huge rate of change. I don't know what they're doing with the model, but we are in fear mode, headed to possibly extreme fear again after barely getting to neutral mode. 40.95 on the dirt cheap case Schiller. Uber was a gap down this morning. Shopify was a gap down. Spotify, I forgot which one. Spotify was up. So that's where we sit. Uber, the beat. Yes, thank you for putting these in. Down 7.45%. After the close, AMD. Do not forget about AMD. Yes, you also have Super Micro. Another potential very interesting accounting company. That's all I'll say there. Oh, look, Beyond Meat. Yay, but AMD's the big one. After close tomorrow morning, we got Mickey D's. Mickey D's. Alrighty then. We finally, don't know if anybody got to see, I was on Futures Edge with Jim yesterday. Well, we filled the gap and we returned to the 6,800 prior breakout level in the bottom of the rotation zone. So, be watching where we close today. We're against pretty strong support area. Finally, we're not even oversold yet, but we're definitely out of overbought on the weekly. No, we're not to the weekly rotation zone. That's what's going to be very interesting to see where we close today. Going to be keeping an eye on in case we get a rally right into the open. Going to be keeping an eye. This would be an aggressive percent B 4-hour buy in oversold conditions for a bounce only. The key levels now that I'm watching are right around the 68.40 to 68.45 area for a bounce. If we do get it, if we don't trigger anything, I will be watching if we rotate back down for a potential double bottom. We don't have that yet. We'd have to, if we didn't trigger the percent being, we'd rotate it back down. We'd have to get below 67.94.75 again to get in a potential double bottom territory. Remember, the trend is still down. That's why I have to wait for a buying signal. It's just not by a dip. We're finally getting the sell-off. So those are the couple things I'm going to be watching for if either of them occur. If we continue to sell off, there is another layer of support around 67.75. And then the 50% retracement for the run-up is 67.47 area. Shopify, there we go. Beat down for 4.3. Spotify, no, so now it's flat. Beat, flat. Pfizer, beat, stock down 1%. So, even on the beats, not getting much traction there. Let's just look at that. If you get a bigger bounce now, the breakdown area for me is 68.50 to 68.55, which is now pretty significant resistance. Okay. So that would be the first targets for any extended bounce. NASDAQ, we still have not filled the gap, which is close to the bottom of the rotation zone. Gap still at 25,509.25. Trading against a minor support level right now. Again, not near the bottom of the rotation zone yet. Bounce play on this, I'm still looking to closer to 25,940. First area I look to is 25,900. And yes, there's a potential 4-hour percent B buy. Would need a break first off above 25,801.50, then follow through with the close. That's the little thing I'll be watching. Other than that, have we pulled back far enough for potential double bottom territory? No, not quite. It would have to drop below 25,682 and then move back above 25,792.50. So either way, those are the two things I'll be watching for. If we trigger a bounce, remember they are against now the 4-hour. They are against a 4-hour rotation zone. So these are initial bounce plays only, unless we get a bounce with massive momentum. If we start taking out the overnight lows, the European lows, we still have the gap fill, which we've already covered. And then the major breakout area is 25,350 roughly. It's closer to 25,350 for a very key support area. And the 50% harmonic from the run-up is 25,278. So if we got into disaster mode over the next couple of days, that would be the key area I'd be looking for, the next major buying opportunity. Do I think the S&P 500 will go up right now? I just covered my two potential things I'm watching for bounce buys only. They may never trigger. Again, I need to wait for, with this disaster sell-off of 1.5% in the NASDAQ. So weren't we making fun of that yesterday on Futures Edge? The Dow triggered the double top, which we talked about. Triggered it yesterday morning. And then continued down for first, second, not quite the third target hit. Not quite yet. There's another little percent B buy bounce again in the Dow. That would need to take out your last bar's high and then close above it. But the key area of resistance is 47,325. The Dow also has, if we take out the final target on the double, the key area is the 50% harmonic right around 46,800. Ross, you're doing big snores again. Roscoe, come on, buddy. The Russell broke support and hit the 50 EMA area. There's a fair amount of support in here. If it does take out these key lows, 24.35 area. Then I'm looking closer to 24.09. Right now, again, potential percent B buy bounce, but this one's real tight in risk reward based off the first target being 24.63. So that's very risky one right there. The VIX return to 20 and then backing off from there. Yeah, slightly elevated, but nothing spectacular. If we start accelerating through 20 again, I will be focusing on a continued pullback. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Ted. Hertz beat stock up 13.9, 14%. British Petroleum up 2%. Let's all rush into Hertz. The DAX broke at the key support area, coming down to test the most recent lows and bouncing pretty decently off there. But 24.30 to 24.80 is now key resistance. Still watching for this to break down and reconnect with the 200. The 10-year notes still caught in a little mini range for the last few days. The bigger picture, we still have the massive double top in play. Covered that one on Futures Edge yesterday. At the very end, the double bottom in the yields yesterday hit the full targets. That is done. That is done. So that's where we sit, right there. Other than that, no new setup besides a potential pullback in the first cross the rotation zone. That's the only thing I'll be taking a look at to see if we get a minor little pullback. Crude. Again, this is just choppy trading right now. My support's around 59.60. We're just breaking down minorly, so I'll be watching that. For the first level support, if we break that, we still have a gap fill left behind at 58.51. There's not a lot of great setups in crude right now from the bigger time frames. Gold, the 4-hour confirmed double bottom has not been invalidated or triggered yet. Remember, it doesn't matter how far it goes to the right since it's already been confirmed. What would invalidate it? Invalidation is still if we get a close below 39.55.6 or a trade down below 39.37.5. What would trigger it? A 4-hour close above 4,046.2. Other than that, not much to talk about. There's still the downward pressure from the head and shoulders. Copper played out its double top and back into the 50 EMA area and the support trend line. I talked about that being a critical stop area that I've been watching. So that is played out. Now going to be seeing if this holds or not, and if we get a potential little mini buy set up against that very key support trend line. Dollar index. What was the high? 99.78. So real close to the 100 mark again. Now we are very overbought with cycles at the top. So I'll be looking. Let's see if we confirm, at least confirm the major weekly double. Right there. Let's see if we confirm it. It has to trade above 99.80.4. We've barely not confirmed it yet, but then I'll be watching for a pullback. A pullback. Because this is, I mean, we're doing some extreme dollar run there higher. Euro, we've talked about that. Continues to break down. I'll be watching for a bounce play in the euro and then a potential another short from the rollover with the rotation zone. Very strong resistance areas right around 115.60 at this point on any bounce. Yeah, we're crashing, don't you know, Christoph? Run for the hills. I heard someone at the dentist office say they're taking a loan against their 401k so they can invest more in stocks. That's the kind of things. Thank you for that anecdote. Again, that's the kind of things we see. Not that doesn't mean it's the top. This could be a top area. People leveraging. They're leveraging their retirement to go into short-term stocks, which have horrible reward to risk. And if you're taking a loan, you're looking at more an investment time frame, not a tradable time frame. It's going to end in disaster. It's going to end in disaster for a lot of people. The spiders. We had the first gap fill to 677.25. We're trading below there. There's still another gap fill down 671.76. This isn't for today, it would be in pretty big pullback mode then. Going to be paying attention to this key low area right around 675.65. If we did break below there, I'm closer to 674 to 674.50 for the next support. Buy it all. That's right, Charles. Buy it all. Take a loan to buy it all and use margin. Definitely use that margin and trade the 5 times ETFs. 0-day options, 5 times ETFs. Leverage it all. The Qs, let's see how it closes today in relation to 625.94 against the rotation zone, but there is a valid potential double top in there. First target being 620.41. Okay? So that's where that sits. The next target is 617.64, and there's a gap left behind the 617.10. The good old Bitcoin, we talked about that on Futures Edge yesterday, breaking down, but now testing this 103.800 area. I'm still watching. If we do break this key low from before on Friday the 17th, I'm watching for a return between the 50 and the 62.5. I put on a new harmonic closer to 97,821 in that area and close to the spike low that I'll be paying attention to. We're not there yet. We still have to take out these lows. But Bitcoin also has not exceeded the highs. The highs came in there at the beginning of October, remember, and then things like the NASDAQ made new highs into the end of October, but Bitcoin hasn't. Bitcoin, not digital gold. What else we have? We have NVIDIA. We still have the lower probability potential double top. Let's see if it confirms or triggers today. Would need a move below 201.41 to confirm and a close below that level to trigger. Again, against the daily rotation zone and even against the key breakout level, but that would be right around the second target. Good morning, Legion Reaver. Do I see a potential inverse head and shoulder? He has 15 minutes. That's a minor one. Let's see where that would be, though. See, for me, I'm just going to be watching. Yes, you could trade it. Again, that's an aggressive setup. I'm going to be watching that high around the 4-hour. So that high in the 4-hour is 68.2450. The 15-minute, you're getting in a little before that potentially. I'd really be watching, though, the 68.20 area if you want to try to front run something aggressively. Again, can't give trading advice, but there you go. I'll put on the targets for that. Remember, the lower the time frame, the lower the probabilities. That's why I prefer that percent B buy, because at least it's on the 4-hour. Here's the targets. Hold on. Oh, come on. There we go. So this would, you remember, we have to drag it over to where it's going to break. Don't know where that's going to, I'm just guessing. But the first target would be about 68.39. And where would that sit? That's on the other side of the 1 hour rotation zone and closer to the 4 hour rotation zone. So that's a very aggressive trade. But I'd prefer to get to a double area or trigger that percent B buy. The S5FI is back down to where it was on the sell-off Friday, October 10th. This whole rally started. It was carried by MAGS and SMH. Thank you for that, Christoph. All right, with that, oh boy, the NASDAQ's still holding the key support level. So nothing's changed since the analysis earlier today. I'm watching the 4 hour highs from both the S&P and the NASDAQ last bar. And although, remember, if the VIX turns around and starts accelerating back above 20, I will be very patient looking for buy setups and potentially go with momentum to the downside. But we are not anywhere near that yet. So I'll still look for those potential bounce buys. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Have a wonderful risk-off trading day. Remember, we're finally getting out of the overbought conditions and back to the bottom of the daily rotation zone. So watch where it closes today. Today is going to be very interesting to see if it shifts the rotation zone on the daily back to neutral mode or if we stay in full-blown buy mode. Palantir. Planner's Peanuts. Why is this not working? There we go. Planner's Peanuts. Again, yes, they beat on earnings. Okay, from yesterday. However, now this is before the earnings release. Look at this. We'll get up, but look at the PE going into their earnings, 666. And yes, they did beat on revenue. Before it was 1 billion. This is 1.18 billion. Earnings up to 0.21 per share from 0.12. That does not justify a 666 P to E ratio. Another frothy top. Now the key major support area is back at 187. All right, very overbought on the weekly. Cycles near the top. Was very overbought with divergences on the daily. So at least this is taking it back to the daily rotation zone, possibly the weekly rotation zone for the secondary reaction. But this thing could it be a tradable bounce? Not necessarily today, but yes, but that would be the secondary reaction. And if that bounce failed or set up a bigger top pattern, would not then be going long Palantir. There you go, Balaji. So if you're still looking to do something in Palantir, it's coming back to a very, very key support level area. Is there a buy set up yet? No. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Thank you for tuning in. See you all tomorrow. Let's see how the New York City election results come in. And bye for now.